Welcome to Forget the Noise, the Sound Doctrine series. I am very happy that you've made it back this week, the third week into the new year. God bless you guys. Thank you so much for listening and for sharing. I realize that I didn't announce it this season, but if you are listening to Forget the Noise and you want to know where to find out more about the ministry or myself, you can follow me at zu.ology, so zu.ology on Instagram, and you can email forgetthenoise95@gmail.com if you ever have any questions on a topic, a teaching, or anything like that. Also, Forget the Noise is on YouTube at FTN. So that being said, just to get that out of the way, I wanted to commend you guys, being that it's the third week in the new year and you guys are still here, because around this time, most New Year resolutions begin to fall away. The gyms get a little less crowded. And I want to take this opportunity in this third week to not only build off of last week's teaching, which when I talked about in Luke 21, the necessity to stand, how I wanted to go into that this week, but also wanted to use this week's teaching as a way to encourage you, as a way to implore you, if you will, to continue to be steadfast in your resolutions and your goals and in your walk with God ultimately. Okay, so in order to do that, I'm going to go to 1 Corinthians chapter 10, and I'm at verse 12 and 13. And it says, "Therefore, let anyone who thinks that he stands take heed lest he fall. No temptation has overtaken you that is not common to man. God is faithful, and he will not let you be tempted beyond your ability. But with the temptation, he will also provide the way of escape, that you may be able to endure it." Now, I think this text is really remarkable. I've preached on it a couple times because I love it so much. And the Bible really is just, it starts off with the warning in verse 12. Like, "Therefore, let anyone who thinks he stands take heed lest he fall." Now, if you're reading this coming off of last week's episode in Luke 21, this should kind of puzzle you a bit, because last week encouraged us to stand. In verse 36, the Bible said that, and be able to stand in front of the Son of Man. That's how we concluded last week's study. So this puzzled me, as it should puzzle all of us. "Therefore, let anyone who thinks he stands take heed lest he fall." But in the context of this text, because we're talking about overcoming temptation and warnings in regards to being tempted, the word fall in verse 12 is likened to sin. Like, if you fall, like fall is likened to sin in this text. And because fall is likened to sin here, it gives you a hint of what I'm going to liken standing to. So if falling is likened to sin, right, then I just said liken mad times. Anyways, but if fall is likened to sin, then standing, I'm going to liken that to the word holiness, because we know that holiness is the opposite of sin, or the absence of sin. So I'm going to read this text back and put the word holiness with standing and sin in falling to help you see what I believe the Bible is getting at. "Therefore, let anyone who thinks that he is holy take heed lest he sin." Because we know that the Bible lets us know that our righteousness is like a filthy rag. So there's no righteousness in us that could produce any holiness. So if you think that you're holy, like the Bible is warning us, like if you think that you're holy, which many Christians do, a lot of times we hear of people who sin, and we just think like, I could never do that. And that's just so not true. And the Bible is warning you, like, if you think that you're holy, take heed, be careful, watch, like, unless you fall, which is, sin. And I believe that thinking that you stand, thinking that you're holy, is a complete obliteration of gratification for what Christ did for you on the cross. Thinking that you're holy, thinking that that you can stand is just arrogance, and it's pride. And if you want another verse to help understand 1 Corinthians 10:12, you can look in Proverbs 16:18. Proverbs 16:18 says that pride comes before destruction, and a haughty spirit comes before a fall. So in that same way, you see that, like, okay, if pride comes before destruction and a haughty spirit comes before a fall, me thinking that I can stand, me thinking that I'm holy, like, that's a very arrogant way for me to think, because there's no reference to the cross in me thinking that. And if I am thinking that way, the Bible is warning me, like, that I'm on my way to falling if I'm thinking that way. Okay, so that's just verse 12. And then verse 13 says, No temptation is overtaking you that is not common to man. In other words, it ain't nothing new. Like, you're not being tempted by anything new that anybody else has not been tempted by. So, like, don't think that you are special, because often people do. Don't think that you are special or singled out to be tempted by the devil's latest 2020 futuristic temptations. Like, there's nothing new. There's nothing new. Temptations don't change. In that, like, you'll be tempted by the same thing, whether it's power or it's money or it's lust or it's greed or whatever. It's nothing new. No temptation is overtaking you that is not common to man. And it's interesting that the Bible is reminding us that nothing is new right after it encourages you, like, yo, if you think that you're standing, like, be careful because you're about to fall. And I think what the Bible is trying to get us to understand is, like, first of all, if you think you're holy, you're on the way to falling. And if you think that you've mastered sin, understand that no temptation is overtaking you that is not common to man. You haven't overcome anything new. So, like, if you're holy, first of all, if you think you're holy, you need to be careful because you're about to fall. Second, if you think you're holy, like, what you're being tempted by, it's been the same for thousands and thousands of years. So, like, even though you think you're holy, like, you're really not. And two, if you really think that you are, understand that, like, you're not being tempted by anything new. You've had 20 years to master this one thing. And if by whatever delusion you feel that you've mastered that, the Bible's saying, like, there's nothing new, which is very interesting to me. Now, the text goes on to say God is faithful. And faithful, as we know, is like he's consistent, he's loyal, he's committed, he's down. God is faithful, and he will not let you be tempted beyond your ability. Now, this is really key, because the Bible introducing God's faithfulness here is almost like, okay, why are you switching the topic? Because we're talking about temptation and me thinking that I got it and me being humbled by there's nothing new. And then we introduce the faithfulness of God here. Almost like God is faithful, and this is beginning to segue and steer the conversation, and it's saying that, and he will not let you be tempted beyond your ability. So God is so consistent, he's so loyal, he's so committed that he's not going to let you be tempted beyond your ability. I want to take a second and dismiss some noise real quick, because people think that, okay, God tempts me. Like, God's not going to tempt me beyond what I can handle. Like, the Bible does not say that God tempts you at all. It says that he will not let you be tempted. The Bible does not say in this text that God is tempting you. It's not saying that. What it is saying is that God will not let you be tempted. So even if he is letting or allowing you to be tempted, he's not going to let you be tempted beyond your ability, because he's faithful. And what that means practically, because the Bible also says in the book of James, and we're going to do a study on this as well, but the Bible is saying, like, let no one say that when he is tempted, I am tempted by God, for God himself tempts no one. But each of you is tempted when he's carried away and enticed by his own desires. So if we're carried away and enticed by our own desires, but God's not going to let us be tempted beyond your ability, what that means practically is God is so consistent to you, so loyal to you, so committed to you, so down for you, that even when your mind wanders off, he's not going to let you wander off to the point where you can't return. He's not going to let you be so horny or so greedy or so whatever that you literally have no ability to not fall into sin. He's not going to let that happen to you. So even though the nature of our flesh is wicked, and from our flesh nothing good can come, because God is so faithful, he's so down, he's so loyal to us, he's not going to allow us to be just manhandled by the nature of our flesh. He's not going to do that because of his faithfulness. But rather it says, but with the temptation, he will also provide the way of escape. So God is doing two things as a result of his faithfulness. So God is faithful, and because he's faithful, one, he's not going to let me be tempted beyond my ability. That's the first thing he's not going to let happen because of his faithfulness. And then the second thing, it says, but with the temptation, he will also provide the way of escape. So in God's faithfulness, because he's so loyal to me and committed to me and down to me, he's not going to let me be tempted beyond my ability. Also, because he's so loyal to me and committed to me and down to me, he's always going to provide a way of escape. And that's awesome, because like if God didn't provide a way of escape when we were tempted, we would never be able to overcome. But just as no temptation has overtaken you that is not common to man, and nothing's changing, God is faithful. He's not changing. He's not switching up. And because the temptations aren't going to change, God is saying, I'm going to be faithful. I'm not going to switch up on you either. Temptations are always going to come. Cool. I'm always going to make sure that you're not tempted beyond your ability. Temptations are always going to come. Cool. I'm going to make sure that with every temptation, I will also provide you the way of escape. And it's awesome that God does that for us, and that God shows us his love so repeatedly in that way, because we're tempted all the time, which means that he's not allowing us to be tempted beyond our ability all the time. And he's providing a way of escape for us literally all of the time. And the text says, but with the temptation, he will also provide the way of escape, that you may be able to bear it. So God, in his faithfulness, right, is going to provide the way of escape. Now, our question is, okay, wait, hold on. What is this way of escape? Like, what is it? Like, if God's going to provide me the way of escape, I should know what that way of escape is so that, I can escape, right? And I believe this text lets us know what the way of escape that God provides enables us to do. So there's a hint above it, which is, and he will not let you be tempted beyond your ability. He's not going to let you be tempted beyond your ability. That's a hint right there. But with the temptation will also provide the way of escape that you may be able to endure it. With the temptation, he's going to provide a way of escape that you may be able to endure it. So okay, now look, he's not going to tempt you beyond your ability, right? But he's going to give you a way of escape so that you're able to endure it. And what I believe the Bible and what the Bible is saying here, which is so beautiful, is that like the way of escape that God provides enables you to endure. So it's not like escape in the traditional sense of the way that we think of the word. When we think of escape, we think of way out. We think of scot-free, right? But the Bible here is saying that he's going to provide you a way of escape that you may be able to endure it. The way of escape that he provides is the ability not to get away, but the ability to endure it. And remember I said the verse above it was that hint? Because look, that you may be able to endure it. He's not going to tempt you beyond your ability. So because he's not going to tempt you beyond your ability, he's not going to tempt you beyond your ability by providing the ability for you to endure it. And that's the way of escape. So even when like your sins are ever before you and like you can't get the sins out your mind and out your heart, and it seems that like that's all you can think about and that's all that you want to do, the Bible is assured us that God is faithful. If you are being tempted, then I promise you, you are also being given a way of escape. And that way of escape is the God-given ability to endure it, the God-given ability to bear it. As Christians, one thing that I noticed in my own life, like this is the reason why I fall the most, is that I think of escape as, okay, God, I'm feeling tempted right now to blah, 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 blah. Okay, I don't want to feel tempted no more. Make it go away. And we set this unrealistic expectation, knowing that we're trapped in our flesh, as opposed to saying, God, I'm being tempted right now. Give me the grace to endure being tempted without sinning. Give me the grace to endure being tempted without sinning. As we go into this new year, brothers and sisters, please, friends, homies, people, let us not think that the way of escape is the alleviation of temptation. That's not real. That's not Bible. Paul had to endure with a thorn in his flesh. Jesus had to endure with a thorn of crowns around his head. Like, it's like enduring, escaping in a biblical context does not mean that the pain goes away, but rather we crutch our cross, or we crutch our side in pain, enduring, knowing that our ability to stand, our ability to endure is God's way of showing us his faithfulness. Like, and this is really, really hard, but I promise y'all, if we could grasp this, If we could grasp this, we put ourselves in so much of a better position to withstand temptation and to withstand the enemy and to withstand the flesh. If whenever you're tempted, the next time you're tempted, you're not hoping and praying to no longer feel tempted, but you're hoping and praying that God, even though I feel tempted, give me the strength to endure. And I talked about what give me the strength means practically last week. So when you are feeling tempted, you're praying, knowing that God is redirecting your heart, redirecting your attention, redirecting in your affection while you wait. Like while you endure, while you hold, and this is why we press on and we hope for Christ to come, because when Christ comes, he liberates us from this body of death. He liberates from this body, because like at the end of the day, I don't care how holy you are, like being touched is going to feel good. Being touched is going to feel good. It just, period. That's the way your body, that's the way your flesh is designed. You know what I'm saying? Food is always going to fill you. That's the way your body is designed. And this is why we hope and we pray for Jesus Christ to come, and we long for him to come, because he's going to liberate us from this body that's so contrary to him. But in the meantime, until he does, he's promised to be faithful to us by not letting us be overwhelmed by our body. He's promised to be faithful to us by not giving us over as slaves to our body. But he's promised in his faithfulness that like he's not gonna let us go. No matter how bad we want to sin, he's always gonna leave at least a sliver of doubt or a sliver of conviction or a sliver of hope that I shouldn't do this. I can make it through this. I can stand. And we're going to hold on to that little bit. We're going to hold on to that little bit. We're going to endure with that little bit. Hold steadfast with that little bit. Crutching it as Christ crutched the cross. Crutching it as Paul crutched his side. Crutching it until Jesus Christ comes. So brothers and sisters, please endure. Don't think that you holy. Don't think that you got it. Pride comes before destruction. A haughty spirit comes before a fall. The moment you think that you got it, you don't. You will slip. You will fall. Like constantly. Don't think that you're standing. Like endure, lean in, crutch in, depend on God. For he is the one that's standing. As you go out this week, in this year, you will be tempted. And you will be tempted by the same things you were tempted by last year. The same people you were tempted by last year. The same drug you were tempted by last year. Like, don't think that because you're being tempted by the same things, you're not growing. That's a lie. No temptation has overtaken you that is not common to man. It's not changing. Temptations don't change. It's nothing new. Don't measure your sanctification, and don't measure how much more you're becoming like Christ by if you're no longer tempted by the things you used to be tempted by. Like, yeah, that may be the case sometimes, but the Bible is making it clear to us, no temptations overtaking you that is not common to man. It's nothing new. Temptations are not changing. But when you are faced again with those same things that you thought you overcome, like it's cool. Like you know what to do based on Luke 21. You know to watch, you know to pray, you know to redirect your heart, you know to act, you know to stand. And we do all of these things, and we clutch and we endure and we hope for the day that Jesus Christ comes and liberates us from all of temptation, all of suffering, all of sin, all of this flesh. So I just want to encourage you guys, as you guys go out this week, like endure, because God is faithful. God bless you.